Hey, Twisted family, it's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And we got things to dive into. I am here talking about the Chucky TV series, episode 5 and 6. So didn't do one last week because it was a holiday. I hope you guys, enjoyed it or chilled, or even if you didn't know it was a holiday, I hope you relaxed in some sort. I hope you had a great week last week is what I'm saying. And I hope you're having a great week this week. It's also what I'm saying. My week has been intense. I hear there's a full moon coming, y'all. So if you are noticing that your emotions are like more intense than usual, just blame it on the full moon. That's what I'm doing. Thank you all who are joining me. Thank you all who go on this journey with me when it comes to this channel, whether it's here on Twitch, the things and just exploring all types of versions of storytelling, whether it's TV shows, movies, or now video games, as I've been doing as well. Thank you all who are joining me tonight, and those of you who are joining on the replay as well. Felix in the chat, also that blinking decapitated head. Yes. So much to talk about with the show. Hey there, Toddy, Bannon, Promethean Flame, always a pleasure hanging out. The lunar eclipse, we always miss it over here in Cali, usually in like Los Angeles area, because where it happens is usually like on the East Coast and things like that, or the solar eclipse as well. We don't really get a good glimpse of it. So I guess we'll just take our 365 days of summer over here instead as a consolation prize. Although it has been cold lately because we are going through our winter over here as well in sunny California. Disney crazy. Yes. Episode 5 and 6 were so good. Lots to uncover, lots of stuff going on. We only got a few episodes left, right? I think it's a 10 episode season. Something tells me we're probably going to get another season because, with the way the lore is right now, there's a lot more probably to dive into as well. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining. Always a pleasure. And can I just say, I am so glad you all kept getting on me to watch Cult of Chucky, because holy crap, would I be a bit lost, if I do say so myself, if I hadn't watched Cult of Chucky with particularly, y'all recommendations came right on time, because in particular to episodes 5 and 6, I really needed to have watched Cult of Chucky. And I wouldn't have noticed it because I didn't watch Cult of Chucky up to this moment. But Lexi's father is the psychiatrist guy from Cult of Chucky. And I'm wondering, are they going to make a connection? Because that's basically just him without the beard. And I'm like, are they going to make a connection like that was his brother or something? Because that's like, that's kind of, I love, it's very clear that the people involved with this project, that, they all take care of each other and that they are, they love working with each other. So it's great that he's able to get so many people from the other franchises back. Cause we also saw Andy's Andy's cousin, right? That was who it was. It was cousin, not sister, cause he was only kid. And then he went to go live with his aunt and uncle, and that was the sister, right? Right. That's the lore. So she also made an appearance too. Josh is saying we are definitely getting another season. Promethean Flame is actually talking about one of my fave topics, the cosmos. This lunar eclipse will be the longest in over 500 years. They said it should be visible in most states, but it might be the kind of late for people to have to work. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Josh saying, I'm glad to hear you like Cult. I liked it. I didn't love it. I'm gonna admit to y'all, I didn't love Cult of Chucky, but I liked it enough. I liked it way better than Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. I do know that. Let's see. Did you catch that the flashback Charles Ray was played by his daughter Fiona with a few prosthetics? I was wondering that. I really was wondering, because I was looking at the person playing. I'm like, that's a woman. I think it's a woman. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. At first I thought it was the actress that plays Nika playing it to kind of play on this idea of her being possessed by him or something. But I was like, yeah, I'm definitely noticing. And that we got to talk about the flashback, because that was also very interesting. I do think this show is really doing a very good job of kind of interweaving the flashbacks and how things are happening in a campy kind of way, in a great kind of way. Oh, that is the actress that plays. Okay, so that's his daughter. I didn't know that. Okay. Okay, that works. Didn't know the backstory. Let's see. Promethean Flame is saying, I hope we get to see Chucky's kid. I don't completely remember what happened to them before. Yeah. I think, didn't it end up in like London or something, and then something else happened and it came back? It was a whole thing. But yeah, there's a good amount to talk about, because a lot of stuff is culminating. At first I was wondering in a way, like, how were they going to kind of make this make sense when it came to, like, after Chucky got turned into what he turned into, because he got, burned and everything, to keep it going, right? Because now that 3 of them know, but there's still the danger there. And in so many cool ways, because of the idea that the kids can't just say, because of the fact that there is a doll that is killing people, the kids can't just be like, it's the doll. No one's going to believe him. So it's kind of, unless they get him on camera and things like that, it's going to be very hard to try to convince him. So we got to talk about that too. We got to talk about who we think is next, because right now it's looking like nobody is safe. And I want to talk about a few things that I didn't particularly love about episodes 5 and 6. One in particular, but we're gonna go over all of that. So I got my notes out. I kind of want to talk about the big things, and y'all, of course, feel free to bring up stuff if I'm not touching on it yet, or if you don't think I might touch on it, you really gotta talk about it. Just let me know. And if you're feeling donatey, show some super chat love. It is always appreciated. And if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and a like if you have not already. Although I hear YouTube has gotten rid of the dislike button. That's what I'm hearing through the grapevine. A lot of people are up in arms about the dislike button going away. So I don't know. Let's see. Promethean Flame, did the series establish that his soul was split, or they are explaining what happened at the end of the last movie? They did. They talked about the splitting of the soul, because that seems to be an issue with Nika as well, and what's happening. And I got questions about how many times can he split his soul apart, is the question as well, and I think there's a finite amount of times. That's what I feel like, just because of what happened in episode 6, and I'll go into that as well. All right, so let's get into it, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to take it bit by bit. One of the things, let's talk about Chucky's past. As Bannon pointed out, that it was played by the daughter of Charles. And so I thought that was really cool. I love how they did the voices, because I feel like the voices wasn't necessarily needed, but it also was like, this works, because it drives home the kind of surrealism that goes with this show so far. And at first I thought the voices, I was like, oh, this is it's kind of jarring, but I was like, yeah, you kind of need the voices to kind of drive home the fact of who these people are, right? Because if you think about it, for Chucky being in the doll's body, all we have is the voice to know, right? So I think that really works. And so what we got, let me know if you thought that the first woman was actually Tiffany. I thought the first woman was Tiffany, and because she was blonde and all this other stuff. But then, but then they did a bait and switch, which was really great, because I was like, oh, that was interesting. That was different. And so that's when it was associated. So they kind of didn't just tell us straight out and out the backstory. They kind of played on our senses about who it could be, and I thought that really worked as well. So let me know if you thought the first woman was actually going to be Tiffany as well. Bannon is saying, the thing I love about this show is they aren't afraid of taking risks, and I don't see half the twist coming. Yeah, definitely, especially with who they're killing off and how, and the plot, and where the plot is going. Van saying the voices kind of annoyed me at first, but once I accepted it, it kind of, yeah, I think it just played with the it just played with kind of the way this show is. It's like this is how this show goes. This is how they're running the show here. Promethean Flame, yes, the voice helps establish his character in another person's body. The daughter does a great job portraying him. Yeah, for sure. MKF30, what's up? Thanks for joining. Maybe he can't fully possess a human due to two souls. It would make sense to kill someone, then immediately possessing them. The good guy doll being soulless till he takes over. Yeah, it might be easier for him to be in a doll's body than in a person's body. I think that's what is being established. Although it was established in Call of Chucky that he ended up taking over Nika's niece, right? But then she ended up getting hurt, so he left her body. But now he's in Nika's body. So like that's a whole thing. And there's some problems with that as well, right? So that's happening. But I really loved it. I love the very, very in your face 80s. I love the 80s. So I love that we got the 80s there. That completely worked for me. And the whole sequence, and then for them to end up in the same hotel again later on in different bodies and all that stuff. I think it really worked. I think it worked really well. So I love the past thing that was going on, and it gives you a little bit more about this character, because one of the great things that this series has going for it, because the creator knows his creation so well, and he's getting so much liberty with it. We get to establish those things, and we get to see that backstory, and it doesn't feel as contrived. I mean, that was, at some parts in Bride of Chucky, I felt stuff was a little contrived, but now it really just goes with it. It flows. They're committing to it, and it works. And we get something that maybe we haven't even gotten before with this whole thing of before he got caught and stuff like that. So that really works. The whole thing with the car. I love that when the guy, like, even when his throat got slashed, I think he was still trying to get $1,000 for it. He's like, that'll be $1,000, even though his throat got slashed. And I was just like, okay, like the last thing that should be on your mind is that, my dude. Michael Damian joining us in the chat. I love how his human form is basically Tommy Wiseau from The Room. That too. I think when we saw that scene, Michael was like, I'm gonna butcher it because I can't impersonate, but I was like, oh, hi, Mark. Like that, the thing from, if people have seen The Room, it was very much The Room in some regards, for sure. So that was pretty funny. So I like that. And so now to go to present day, what we have going on in present day is a lot of stuff. First and foremost, Chucky has a new body. I'm pretty much doing it all instead of just saying, oh, all of five and then all of six. So we're doing kind of all where we're at, right? So, Chucky has a new body. And now it's interesting. We talked about how, we didn't see some of the twists coming. I saw that coming though. I kind of figured he was going to get in the new doll. I kind of figured that was going to happen because there was no way he was going to keep being able to go around as the doll he was currently as, because that would just be too obvious, right? They kind of did that with Bride of Chucky and See Chucky, I think, when he had like all the staples and stuff, and that lets you know this is who he is, but it doesn't, it's too distinctive, because how is he going to be able to, with the way they're building this of him being anywhere and everywhere kind of a deal, that's how that goes. So I kind of saw that coming. And so, but it was funny to see the teenagers try to do, I knew it was going to be an animal that was going to pop out. I'm like, either it's a skunk or it's a raccoon that's going to jump out. And then they basically got rid of the doll, but we knew that when they got rid of the doll that it wasn't him. So I kind of saw that coming. But I was like, it was necessary. It had to happen. I thought it was very funny when he first got thrown away and he dropped into the thing of needles. That was pretty funny. It just shows how off Chucky is. And I love that the show continues to drive that home. And I'll talk about how it drives that home in another instant in a little bit, of just that he's not a good guy, right? Good guy, dog. Funny enough, he's not a good guy. And this show can be brutal in showing the brutality of this character, even if you love his like jibes and all this other stuff. So, you know, then we had the whole thing with Tiffany and Nika. And, you know, it was good to see that kind of come back around, right? Seeing this whole thing with Tiffany and Nika. And to see now, let me know what you all think. Do you think that what is making Nika come out and push the shard of Chucky away is when she's sparked with blood? Like, what is it? Is it the blood that's triggering her? It seems to be blood that triggers her, which is very interesting, because that means basically anytime there's some blood of some sort initially, that may trigger her to come back. It's, you know, and it's a very interesting way they have this going, but because the thing is, because she's a paraplegic, that when he's not in control, she loses the use of her legs, which I'm not really sure how that works, the dynamics of that, but that's what they got going, how soul possession is able to make that happen. But it makes for a great plot mechanism, because she can't necessarily come to her senses and then run out of the apartment, right? She can't just be like, okay, I'm back to who I am. Let me, let me run out and let everybody know. So it makes for a very interesting plot situation. And then we have it so, Tiffany pretty much is aware. And yet Tiffany seems to be like, I want to keep you around. I don't want to keep Chucky around, which is an interesting plot twist, right? Now, do y'all think that this is just Tiffany being a bit weird and that she's just kind of tired of Chucky right now and she'll want him back eventually? Or do you think she's like done with him and she really, for some reason, wants to keep Nika around? Because I don't know how she thinks she's going to be able to keep Nika around, right? Like, how would she be able to keep her around in either fashion, either with Chucky possessing or with Nika wanting to run away? Because it's very clear Nika doesn't love her, but there's some thought process that she does. But then again, Tiffany is also crazy, right? But do y'all think that it's the blood that makes that happen? Let me know in the comments. MK is saying, I wonder if we'll see him meeting John, aka Dr. Death, since we saw the hobby book about voodoo in that last flashback. And do you think Chucky is essentially immortal at this point, being in $100? And I think that's the question too. And I do want to talk about that. Like, what's the limit? I do think there is a limit, because the first thing I wondered when I saw Cult of Chucky, I'm like, how many times can he do that and it be as strong of a hold? Right? Like, it's because if you remember in the first and second one, he was trying to put his whole soul, himself, he was just trying to go into a body. That was a big thing. Like, his whole thing was him going into a body. And then it turned into, oh, I can, separate myself and be all over the place at one time. Is it, and I don't really know the mechanics of it. Is it all one consciousness? Does this Charles know what the other Charles is doing? Does one Charles know what happens with the other Charles? Or is it just like when they're separated, they are literally just clones of Charles, right? How does that work? I don't know if we'll get into a deeper thing about that, but I would like to know the mechanics, because with things like this, I think it's good to know the rules, because, and this was my big issue, right? As y'all have probably heard me on this channel, if you know some of my other musings, like with Michael Myers, where I felt like they didn't establish rules. So you never knew, well, how can you beat Michael Myers? We don't know what the rules are, right? You know the rules with Freddy, and you know the rules with Jason, for the most part, but you don't know the rules of Michael Myers. So it gets kind of weird. So how you can root for it and how you can follow it, not knowing, well, how can this guy go? And with Chucky, it's a little weirder, right? Because like, oh, he has shards of his soul, but he can't be completely invincible, right? So I think they're going to have to establish how they do that. And we'll talk about Andy in a second, but as much as him and his cousin might, or his foster sister, might, like, yeah, I think it's his foster sister, like as much as they might kill the dolls they find and things, if he can just simply keep hopping around forever and ever, at some point, aren't they going to have to try to reverse a spell? Like the guns and shooting and going on target practice can only do but so much, especially depending on who he might eventually take over, right? I mean, that could be I'm surprised he hasn't tried to go for someone like the mayor or the president or someone, right? Like it seems kind of weird that he's kind of staying low profile as opposed to going bigger and bigger. Like, but maybe his thing isn't world domination or anything like that. Doesn't have to be, but MK is saying Andy and Nika are on the run for different reasons, which is interesting. And now Cal to ring an accomplice. Yeah. Bannon is saying, didn't Andy say there was only one doll left? And Nika, yeah, they did say that because those were the doll that he got at the family's house, which is such a funny sequence. Was the one of the dolls where they had, I knew it by the hand from Cult of Chucky. That's how I got to remember it. That the hand had gotten burned, right? And it had been longer. So those are the dolls from the facility. But who knows how many dolls he's been able to do since then. Or maybe after Cult of Chucky, it seems like Cult of Chucky was just a couple of weeks ago from this timeline, it seems. So if that's the case, then maybe it was just but so many dolls he got to get free, right? So I guess we don't know how many he can do, you know, but I have to think, I have to say, I do think there has to be a limit. I mean, how many times can you split your soul apart where it's be just as effective, right? Felix saying Nika is wanted by the police. She has nowhere else to go. In a way, maybe. But it's also kind of like if you know what's going on and you know you're being used by the body of a serial killer, would she not want to turn herself in even if she knew she was going away? I mean, she had kind of resolved herself in Cult of Chucky to kind of stay where she was. But now, you know, so I kind of don't know if that's her main reason, you know, of why she wouldn't be trying to even like let anybody know. Bannon is saying, who else thinks Tiffany, is going to put the Chucky shard into the new doll she got in the mail? I think that might be a thing too, because if she's serious about wanting to keep Nika around, or not, maybe she's just tired of Chucky, because we do remember now what I did remember from Bride of Chucky, right? The whole thing with Bride of Chucky was she thought he was going to propose to her, and that's why she wanted to bring him back. And then she found out that he wasn't actually, he had no intention of marrying her, at least he said, and so on and so forth. So eventually she just wanted to, I think she just wanted to keep him around as a doll. So, because, you know, they have a very toxic relationship. And I think in some level, when she decided to keep him around as a doll in Bride of Chucky, there was a whole idea of, you know, he's more manageable this way. I can control you, keep you in a cage and blah, blah, blah. And I wonder if there's kind of going to be a redux of that because they were arguing this past episode, right? So maybe she's at a time where you need a timeout in a doll's body again. So that would be interesting. See, MK is saying, yeah, I feel like Chucky is playing Emperor regarding the kids trying to turn Jake, then Lexi into killers while taking out their parents to instill fear and power, maybe. He's definitely got a game going on. I'm just wondering what the bigger game is, because once again, we still have him very much dealing with the teenagers. I can't imagine that's his main reason for being there. I'm still not convinced that is his main reason for being there. Even though now he probably wants to get rid of Jake and them and mess with them, there has to be a bigger thing going on there. We just still have not been revealed to us what that thing actually is, in my opinion. So, all right, so we have Tiffany and Nika. Nika is back, and like I love the fact that she wasn't completely gone, and that it only had been a couple of weeks. I wasn't sure of the timeline, so I'm like, maybe Nika's been like this way for like some years or something like that. But it's only been a couple of weeks, and it's very clear that with the shard, probably, if I was just going to guess, if his whole soul was in her, like the first movie was trying to establish, it probably would be a stronger connection. But I think because of the fact that it is a shard, I think that does give room for Nika or whoever he was to possess to be able to fight it if they had a strong enough will. That's my guess of the whole thing with the shard. In terms of that. MK is saying, I would compare Chucky's and Tiffany's relationship to Harley and Joker. He abuses her, yet she keeps going back to him. Yeah, for sure. Although one could argue, well, I guess it depends on which iteration, because y'all talking DC, which is my jam. I guess it depends on kind of what iteration of Joker and Harley, right? Because if we're going with the Harley and Joker, where Harley definitely was not a great character, where she very much was just as bad as Joker, because there was an iteration where she was kind of like that, then yes, because Tiffany is also just as bad and just as evil in this regard. And one could say they both do things to each other, where I felt like, depending on the iteration, that, yeah, Harley was definitely getting the short end of the stick with Joker in some regards. So what we also have going on is Andy and his sister, his foster sister. Y'all, can y'all let me know? I forgot. Is she his sister? Is she? No, she's not his biological sister. Is she his foster sister or is she his cousin? I can't remember if he went to go live with his aunt and uncle or if he was adopted or something. I think he was adopted and she was his older new sister or something. I think that's what happened. I could be misremembering. But anyway, so I love seeing her back into the fold. I was like, yes, this is so great. Foster sister. Thanks, Bannon. Okay, so it was the foster sister. I love seeing her back. At first, I didn't recognize her. And then I was like, oh my gosh, she is back because they did the flash. I'm like, that's her. Oh my gosh. I knew I remember her face. I knew that face. And so that was really cool. And that whole sequence was really great. Yeah, thanks, Will, foster sister. That whole sequence was really great. I thought that really worked. And this is where it brought up the question, as we were just talking about. Yes, they went after the dolls. Andy somehow knew the number of dolls that there were. But the question is, can Chucky, what's the thing? If Chucky's soul dies in a shard, if a part of the shard has a doll in it and the doll dies, does the shard then return back to the originator? And where is the originator? Who is the original shard? Who is the original Chucky, right? Does it return back or is it just fragmented and gone? And this is what I mean about kind of establishing the rules a little bit, just so we have a clearer thing of what we're dealing with here. Because if he wanted to, if it was just a matter of possessing whoever, couldn't he just take over the whole town and make a town of killers? Why not? Why stay in the doll's body? Why, although I think he likes being a doll. I think it was established in one of the previous movies that he kind of just was like, I kind of like what I do and how I do it because I can kill this way more easily because people don't see it coming, because that's his jam. His jam is killing. That's his thing. I thought it was also interesting, Andy's characterization. It's very clear, and I thought Cult of Chucky also showed this, that Andy's been through trauma, and Andy has a situation with himself where you see that there's a little bit of a darker tinge. And I thought it was interesting when his foster sister asked him, why did you keep one of them alive? Why keep his head? And it was interesting because Andy's response was, this is how you know your enemy, what gets to them and stuff. But it also seemed at some level that he enjoyed it, right? Like that he enjoyed doing that. And what does that mean? Where is his character going? You get it. His thing is to go after the Chuckies. But now we did hear, right, from the creator that that is all culminating, at least this season, with I think he called it like the last showdown with Andy and Chucky. And I hope that Andy doesn't lose necessarily, but you also kind of wonder, where can Andy go from this, right? Because it seems like his life kind of became very focused on this battle with him and Chucky almost. And as this show, one of the other things I love about this show is filled with so many references to other movies. And that's just a beautiful sight to see. like Cape Fear that we got this in episode 6. But it very much reminded me of what we have going on with Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, right? Although I think this one is a bit more even, because as we see with the new remakes, with the Michael Myers, with the Halloween remakes, it almost seems like Michael isn't as concerned about Laurie for some reason. Although Laurie is very much concerned with Michael, for rightly so. And I think with this show, they're very much establishing how much Chucky can't stand Andy and considers him his main foe. And then how Andy considers Chucky his main foe. And you almost feel like they maybe it's actually even doing maybe a little bit of a better job than the Halloween franchise with the whole dynamic of these two characters kind of needing each other, even though they go on their side quests, kind of needing each other for that ultimate battle that they have going on. So I think that's very interesting. I feel like they're kind of setting that up with Andy, but let me know if you agree or not with that as well. Let me see. I completely forgot that it was Jennifer Tilly herself possessed. That is so, yeah, exactly. It was the same actress though, right? So like that's how they did it, but I thought that was funny. Kind of made it so that they get to stay in the franchise. Bannon is also saying, I still wonder what Chucky's end game is. Exactly. He could have killed the kids plenty of times, but he didn't. But is making a point to killing their parents in front of them in horrible ways. Yeah, and he also tried to get Lexi this episode. So it was kind of like, you know, what's the thing, you know? Will is saying, asking, do you feel like they killed off Devin's mother too soon? And we're going to talk about that. We got to talk about that because these were a few things where I was like, what's going on? So we're going to talk about it for sure. But that's a very good question, right? Well, I agree with you on that. Or where you might be thinking on that. Let's see. Bannon is saying, yes, I love dark parts of this show, the show gets both with the old and the new characters. Makes sense. Andy is so dark since he was scarred at such a young age. I predict Andy will not make it out alive. And that kind of, I get it. I kind of want him to make it out alive though, but that's because I'm just a sucker for the survivals, you know, for the ones that survive, the final girls and the final guys, right? Like it's the same thing of how I worry with the upcoming Scream movie that they may kill off Nev Campbell's, they may kill off Cindy. I definitely think Dewey ain't making it out of Scream 5. One of the three gotta go. It's either gonna be, you know, it's one of the three, and maybe they'll do Dewey, but I worry about one of the three of them not making it. And I'm kind of like, they survived, just let them have this, right? It's the same reason why as much as I loved Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, I also, you know, was kind of sad and mad about it because with Dream Warriors, you let people survive and then you just killed all of the survivors off in the next one. And it was like, couldn't you just let them have gone and just go about their business? Damn, you even killed Nancy. You know what I mean? Like, just let them go. And I felt this way. I feel this is what I fear with Laurie Strode for Halloween. I'm just like, just let her go. Just let her go. You know, let her live. And I worry now about Andy. I get it though. You know, with a franchise, if you're doing continuations and not straight up reboots, well, it's a horror franchise. Certain characters got but so long. And if it's a horror franchise and they go as long as they do, it's probably part of a win, but it still sucks to me. You know, I worry about that. Hey, Mercenary, thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, we're just talking Chucky here. Let's see what some of y'all are saying. MK is saying, I read that Perry Reed said she'd love to come back. I hope De Silva. And I kind of see Andy as the Dr. Loomis of Chucky series, where he's obsessed with him, knows Chucky like Loomis knows Michael. That's another good example. I think that's another good example, the Loomis. But I think there's a thing of Loomis there in the sense of at one point he sheltered Chucky, right? Because in the first movie, Chucky was his friend. And then he's just like, no, we're not friends anymore after everything you did. And I think at some part, Loomis felt like he was a caretaker of Michael Myers until he realized this dude is evil incarnate. No. So I get that. Although I do think it's a little bit more, for me, I lean towards the Lori thing, because if I go towards Loomis, Loomis also met his end by Michael too, depending on which movie you could consider canon as well. Yeah, I guess it depends on which movie you consider canon. I just thought about that, because it wasn't until which movie was it that they killed Loomis off? Might have been part 4 or part 5. It was off screen because the actor, was sick and was, God rest the dead. I don't know. I know they killed him off, but then we didn't. Those sequels aren't actually there so anymore, technically, in the new timeline. Yeah, it was cursed Halloween 6, right? But he's not, that timeline doesn't exist. So maybe Loomis got to go of old age and stuff. One can hope. Maybe he was gone somewhere. He's like, y'all deal with Michael. I'm out of here. Because technically, if it didn't happen, Bannon is saying, I also love that the show is a love letter to different horror movies and actresses. Exactly. Very much agreed. Felix is saying, Andy possessed by Chucky would be a great cliffhanger. That would be, that would actually be a very good twist. And Andy and Chucky battling it out, because Andy was the first one he was trying to get, right? And that didn't work out for him, but now he gets people. So that would be something. That would definitely be something if that happened. I wonder how that would go. I would love it, just because I think it would just be too predictable if they end up killing Andy off. And I don't want Chucky to win in that regard. I really just don't. And I'll talk about, some of the reasons why, but I really don't want him to win in that regard. Okay. So, a little bit about the teens. We got a little romance with Devin and Jake, and that was cute, young love. Lexi and Junior broke up. I don't know, I feel like we're on Gossip Girl for a second. They broke up. And we had a little bit of the interpersonal drama, which kind of segues into the other thing I want to talk about, the 2 deaths that I wasn't necessarily on board for. One in particular, I understood about Devin's mom meeting her demise, because in a way that had to happen, although I think I was like, damn, how's Devin going to come back from that? That sucks. Because that's to both of his parents. Like, it's not like his dad is somewhere. He lost his dad. I don't know how that's going to work. How is he staying in town? Does he have family somewhere? Like, what's going to happen? When Jake lost his dad, he just got to, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen to Devin. Is he going to have to move away or something? How does that work? He don't got no parents now. But I did not particularly care for Bree's death, for a number of reasons. One, let me know in the live chat and the replay, y'all. Did you like that was her secret? I didn't like that. I did not like that her secret was that she had, that illness, because I was like, you built this up for like, and I've talked about it in previous streams. Like they built this up for like episodes, like 5 or so episodes, and that's the secret. And I'm like, I mean, that's real world stuff. I get it, but I'm like, why did they build this up like it was going to be something connected to Chucky and all of that? And it was just like, it was that. And when she decided not to go, and maybe it's just like, I've lost people to this and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like when she decided to kind of take her own thing, and then they have Chucky kill her. It establishes how brutal this show is, and that Chucky is no one to root for. You do not want to root for Chucky. Like, you seriously don't. And I think that death kind of just drove that home. But at the same time, I was like, really? Like, you just revealed her secret. You could have just killed, you didn't have to make that a whole thing, her getting her life back together. And I felt like there was a little bit of well, you shouldn't feel like this was too cruel, because she was already far along anyway, so she didn't have long to go. I didn't like it. I was just like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? I was like, what was the point of building up a secret like that just for that to be the reveal and for you to kill her? Now, what I was thinking they were going to do, and I was kind of excited about it, because just as when Chucky possesses Nika, and how he cures her paraplegic, her being wheelchair bound. I thought what was going to happen was that somehow Chucky was going to possess Bree, and then there'd be some type of switch of her going to the doctor, and you don't know she's possessed yet, and it's like, whoa, like your illness is gone. Like, wow, how's that happen? Oh my God, it's a miracle. And then you find out she's actually possessed by Chucky or something. I thought that would have been cooler. I thought that's what they were building up to. Call me, guys, if you want me to ride on your show. But like, it was like, that would have been so much more of a cooler twist in the way they ended up going. And I just don't know how much more Junior can take. And maybe that's the point. I do see at some point Chucky maybe convincing Junior to be a killer. I can see that. I don't think he's going to get through to Lexi. I definitely don't see him getting through the Devin. I don't think he's going to get through the Jake. I think he could get through to Junior, given everything that's going on with him and him feeling isolated from Lexi and everything like that. I can definitely see him doing that. And that's the only thing that works for me with the way Bree died and all of that. But aside from that, I was like, no, we didn't need that. That to me was just a disappointment. And, I haven't had a lot of disappointments with this show, but I just thought when they built up that secret only to go that route with it, I was just like, really? And now he's going to push her out a window? Damn. That's a lot for a character to deal with in one whole episode. And also, I just think that actress just deserves a bit more. That's my girl from Jason X, one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies. She deserved a little bit more badassery. I thought we were going to get it. I thought she was going to eventually get possessed by Chucky. We were going to get some badass moments with her, and we didn't get that. So I'm a little disappointed. I think she got killed too quickly, and I didn't like the way they killed her off. But let me know if y'all agree or not. MK saying, only way I'd be okay with Chucky possessing Andy would be if we get a dreamlike sequence seeing Chucky in human form played by Fiona literally fighting Andy as he looks now literally for control. Okay. Bannon saying, it was 2 deaths I didn't see coming. Bree had given up on life, and I feel her death was necessary to make Junior a killer. I think he will try to kill maybe even Jake. No, her secret was stupid. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I definitely see it as a plot twist for Junior to push Junior over the edge. Now, I would not categorize it as Bree giving up on life. I felt it was more so her, in a way, trying to get her own control back. And I do think there was a little bit of the idea of, well, she was going to go anyway. You can't feel too bad about it. But it was like, well, she wasn't going to go at that moment. And it was just kind of like, wow, insult to injury right there. To me, anyway, I just thought it was, for lack of a better word, I thought it was overkill. So I thought that was, a little bit much. Josh is saying, yeah, if you're rooting for Chucky, you are a sick individual. But it can be hard sometimes, right? And this is what we talked about when it comes to monsters and stuff, how there are times when with monsters, they can make them kind of appealing, right? Where they're funny and they say things. I know there are times when I laugh at what Freddy says, but then I remember, screw this guy. I want Nancy to win, or screw this guy. I want Patricia Arquette's character to win. I want the winners. I want the fighters to win against him, even if he is witty and all that stuff. Will is saying, in terms of the cop, she was pretty much the only cop investigating the murders in terms of Devin's mother. Now she's dead. Also, I agree that the stage 4 illness reveal was underwhelming. Agreed. I just was like, that's her secret? I really thought it was going to be something connected to Chucky. And I was just like, what? I was like, that's it? And then you killed her? And Bannon said, I mean, she died literally in front of his face. He is losing it for sure. Oh, definitely. And maybe that's the twist, that eventually Junior ends up becoming the killer, the stand-up kid, right? Bannon is saying, excuse me, guys, as Chucky reminded us, he might be a killer, but he's not a monster. Yeah. So, yes, Jason X was fantastic, wasn't it? I agree, Josh. One of the best ones. Not the best one, but one. It was up there. People hate on it. So yeah, I wasn't feeling Bree's death. I was not feeling her reveal. And it was just like, it just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, you could have just had them had a great mother-son moment and then kill her, period, or something, you know? Like, you didn't have to do the illness as well. I just thought that was a bit much. And then we have it so that Devin's mom is also gone. And like I said, I don't know how this is going to affect Devin because he also lost his father. And I'm not sure how that's going to work going forward. Like, he's only like 13 or 14. It's not like he's like, I'm going off to college, so I'll just stay in the house by myself. How's this working? Does he end up going into foster care? Does an aunt come in? Does he have family in town? You know, I hope this doesn't make it so he has to go off screen, or that's the way they ship him off or something. And it seems a little silly given that they have established him and Jake's relationship, right? But I kind of saw it coming that she was going to die too. I did. Only because they had a nice, they also had, this show does not like mother and son moments, y'all. That's the tell for this show. If anyone has a touching moment with somebody, just know that their time may be limited on this show because, you know, Bree and Junior, and then, you know, Devin and his mom. And so they had the touching moment. And in that moment, I actually thought Chucky was going to be in the house and was going to get Devin. But then it was the whole thing. And I love that they did have that moment. I did think that was really good, and that she accepted that her son was that way or something. But I definitely was like, oh, some one of these people gonna go. I actually thought it was gonna be Devin. I didn't think Devin had long because I thought that this was gonna be the way that Chucky was gonna get at Jake. But I also was kind of hoping that it wasn't going to be the case. Kind of like, I would like the black boy to live, but you know what I mean? That's just me. But as Bandit is pointing out, he did not go after Devin. It's very interesting. There are certain people he's not going after. And I think that's very interesting. And that might speak to something as well. And, you know, we can speculate about that in a second. Also, the principal's dead. The principal got killed. We kind of got a little bit of a higher-ish body count in these last two episodes. Some people we didn't know, and then people we did know. And the biology teacher is in jail, which is also a thing, right? She's sitting in jail. Now, as much as I am feeling for Devin, I don't think his mom was the best cop or the investigator. I mean, honestly, the evidence that she had against the biology teacher was very flimsy. It was, you were in line to get her job. And wasn't Oliver one of your students? What? Like, I could see if it could be like, wasn't Oliver one of your students and he gave you trouble all the time? Like, but it wasn't even anything like that. And how do you explain the other deaths, like the housekeeper and all this? It just didn't, I was just like, it's kind of flimsy, you know? And it was like, okay, cool, but that doesn't stick. And yeah, we did get the whole idea of the biology teacher's past, although I don't think that's going to be, I mean, unless she has some kind of connection, I don't see that being a big thing, but we could see. I do think it's significant that they made that a thing. So I guess we'll see where that goes with the biology teacher. Like, why make it that plot point? Why not just make it so they're still trying to figure out who did the killing, you know? But I did think it also kind of establishes the fact of just how much Lexi, Devin, and Jake can't tell anybody, because yeah, they could say, we know she didn't do it, but how do you explain that, right? How do you explain that you know that you know they didn't do it? So I thought that worked. So there's a lot going on there. Tiffany is now in the neighborhood. Nika is now in the neighborhood. So is one of the shards of Chucky. Andy is heading to the neighborhood. There's a lot going on in Hackensack, New Jersey, y'all. A lot will be happening. And so I guess the question is it going to be all out Chucky war in Jersey in a couple of days, right? And how does that work? You know, because as Andy pointed out, that is a little bit more complicated, you know, like when he's talking to his foster sister, he was saying it's a little bit more complicated because it's not just a doll that's left, there's a person that's left. And how are we going to deal with that? You know, is Andy thinking he's going to have to kill Nika? Because how else do you deal with the fact that Charles is possessing Nika, right? But this is where I'm talking about. I'm wondering, when are we going to get into someone trying to find the voodoo priest? right? Like, I mean, Andy knows that's what he dabbles in, and Andy also know it works because he's able to do it. So why is anyone saying, well, maybe we should find a voodoo priest to try to figure out how to counter this spell? They're doing all the Pulp Fiction stuff, showing up and shooting people, which I love that. I loved it. I thought that was a really cool the whole thing of them shooting the Chucky doll is very Pulp Fiction-y, and I enjoyed it. But it's kind of like, I think Andy enjoys the chase and the kill, but I think if they're going to be thinking a little smarter about this, they're going to have to try to think of other ways of dealing with the fact that Chucky's essentially using voodoo, playing hopscotch and jumping from body to body, right, y'all? So that's really where we're heading with this. And let me know, do you think Andy is a goner? Do you think Andy's going to die? Do you still want Lexi to go? I mean, that's also another question. Josh is saying it's definitely going to go down. I agree. But do you think Lexi should still go? Lexi seems to have come around. They seem to have chucked out the idea of her being the really mean girl. So I don't think that her head is still on the chopping block. She might still go, but it's not in that kind of way like in the beginning of the season where we all really wanted her to go. In that regard, let's see what Will is saying. Will is saying, as much as I love this franchise, it's still kind of depressing how many lives Chucky has taken and destroyed throughout this series. Exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, I don't want to root for this character. So I want Andy to win. But then I also wonder, well, if Andy wins, how do you get another season? And I think they're doing another season. So, or maybe this is, a limited series. Felix is saying Lexi's mom should go. Yes. Did she not emerge as why you kind of realize Lexi is the way she is? Like, I was like, oh, so this is adult Lexi. This is what happens here. Definitely saw that. And I definitely think she is on the chopping block. I think that's why it was so, because, it's interesting. In the beginning, her personality wasn't as prominent in that regard. She kind of was just like, the mayor, and she seemed very nice. And then they kind of started to reveal, oh, she's not so nice. And I think that is purposeful that came to the forefront, probably for this very reason. For one, us to understand why Lexi might be the way she is. And two, to give us someone in lieu of Lexi to meet their maker, right? So I think we might be getting that. Let's see. Vanna is saying, I am ashamed to say I still kind of do want Lexi to go, although I'm actually liking her now for her past sins, right? MK is saying, I don't think Andy will die, but possibly one of the Scooby-Doo kids or Kyle. Yeah, I definitely see that being a thing. One of them. I don't think it's going to be Jake. I fear for Devin, but I also think it might be a thing where he gets out on a technicality. I mean, they killed his mom. They killed his dad off screen before the show's timeline started. It just kind of sucked if he died too. I think that's just my honest opinion. And I don't want the show to fall into the bad trope of the bury your gays trope, which is, you introduce these characters who are a part of the LGBTQ, and you just kind of kill them off. You introduce them, they're just to be kind of red shirts in that regard for Star Trek reference. And so, given that, I would prefer he not go. Also, double whammy, he's also like the one main Black character too that's left. So it's like, let's not. But I don't want it to be, I mean, if it made sense plot line wise, I'd be like, look, I'm not going to be like on it just for the sole purpose of diversity, he should get to live. But I'm saying there's really no reason why he would need to be killed off. You don't need to give Jake more fuel because Chucky already killed his dad. His mom is dead. You don't need to do the guy he likes to. I understand the thing with Junior because with Bree and everything that's going on, that makes sense to push him over the edge. Lexi hasn't really gotten any kind of wake up calls in that regard. Yeah, she hasn't. What would be poetic if we still wanted Lexi to go is that if Chucky ends up possessing Junior, having him end up killing Lexi somehow in the end, or like Chucky just convincing him to kill someone. So there's that. No, I don't do Cash App, Josh. I have Venmo and PayPal. I got to set that up. I know people like donating and things like that way too. And things like that for those who like to donate. I appreciate it. I haven't established that on my Twitch yet either. I need to do that. Technical things of a creator, digital creator. Bannon is saying, no, Jake and Devin deserve to be happy. I mean, they're both orphans now, right? Like, that's just a bit much. But I think this is why the show kind of did what it did, because I think it establishes this show is brutal and no one is safe. And I think that's good to establish. Like I said, Bree's death made me a little uncomfortable because I was just like, it's a bit much. But I understood why it had to happen, you know? Will is saying whatever happens next on this show is all up in the air. It's pretty unpredictable. That I'm not sure where it's going. I'm just along for the ride and where it takes me. I agree. Because we still haven't found out what his end game is. Why did Chucky go back to Hackensack? You know, just to cause chaos in the whole entire town? There's got to be something else to it. And like it was pointed out, which we said we'd get to, is that he didn't seem to be going after everybody. Now he did want to kill Lexi. Lexi, that pretty much establishes that Lexi isn't part of some grand scheme of his, because he did want to kill Lexi. He just decided, I won't kill you if you kill Jake. But he was trying to kill her at one time. Now, Devin, he did not go after Devin. And Devin pointed that out. He said he didn't try to kill me. And he was even confused. Like, why didn't he try to kill me? But then he kills his mom. He even says, Devin, watch this, which was nuts. And I was just like, damn, Chucky's cold, man. And so I think that's very interesting too. Why didn't he kill Devin? Because wouldn't that be the way to get at Jake? Because he knows. Like, why wouldn't he get at Jake that way? So why let Devin off the hook, but then kill Devin's mom? So a lot of things, you know, a lot of things going on. Yeah, Josh. I mean, I like that no one is safe. It makes it unpredictable. And it makes you also wonder where things are going. And maybe at some point we will get a reveal as to what Chucky's real things are. What is his real end game? And more so, what's the rules? I mean, the whole shards of the soul thing was just now established in Cult of Chucky. So it's like, what are the rules and how can you take care of them? How can you do it? Right. So, yeah. And I think that'll be where we go from there. And they got to get to it quick because we only got but so many episodes left. Bannon saying poetic would be Lexi saving Jake and Devin and being killed by Junior. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I was saying, wouldn't it be something if like she goes in for a hug with Junior and he like stabs her or something like that, either because he's possessed by Chucky or because Chucky has convinced him to be a killer, right? Bannon saying, I think Chucky is trying to twist the kids in some way and the parents are just a means to this. Also, maybe he killed Devin's mom to put tension between Devin and Jake. Could be. And will that put tension between Devin and Jake? You know, I mean, Devin and his mom kind of had a strained relationship anyway. They weren't as close, but I mean, it was his mom, you know? So, Will is asking, do you personally want to see Lexi die or has she grown on you? I don't want to anymore. I'll admit that. She's been okay these last couple episodes, especially when you see the reasons why she is the way she is. Like, we got a little bit of a glimpse into the home life. And like, as her father pointed out, that her father pointed it out. He was like, you know, Lexi didn't sign up for this. Are you a mayor or are you the mother? It doesn't seem like you can do both. And you know, she's young. She's 13, 14. Kids lash out. You know, their brains aren't. Fun fact: our brains aren't fully developed until I think the age of 25. Right? I think it's 22 or 25 that our brains aren't fully developed yet, or not fully matured, like scientifically wise. So I kind of give kids passes when they're really like that, except Alma from American Horror Story. I can't stand that girl. But Lexi, I'll give a little bit of some personal space to, in saying, okay, I see why you are the way you are. if she was to die, it wouldn't be as like, yeah, she deserved it for me. Although I could still see her getting the axe, literally, but it wouldn't be as gratifying now, in my opinion. Chloe, thanks for joining us, Chloe. Chloe saying Chucky was savage this last episode. He was. We were just talking about how brutal he is at this point, and it just kind of establishes that you can't root for Chucky, as funny as he is and things like that. I also love the part where Devin tased him and Chucky, once again, another reference. I think it was like a Danny Glover reference where he was like, I'm getting too old for this. Like I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally Lethal Weapon line right there. This show is made by people who love movies. I thought that was very funny. He's like, I'm getting too old for this. And it's funny for him to say he's getting too old for this because technically he's forever young because he's a doll, right? So there's that. Josh is saying, I'm waiting for Chucky to lose it and snap. Yeah. Van is saying, if she dies now, I do hope it is heroic in some way. And speaking of brutal, the way he covered his mouth when he killed Bree, then waved by. Yeah. It was just, like I said, I didn't particularly care for Bree's death. I just thought it was too much, in my opinion. I'm not going to say, I think the show crossed the line. I just thought it was kind of like, was it necessary? Especially since they built up the secret like it was something that was like really pertinent to the Chucky plot line. So, I don't know, it's kind of, it's I guess we'll see where this is going, y'all. But it's exciting stuff. And next week should be just as exciting. It's taking us into the holiday season with Chucky, which is very funny. A killer toy going towards the Christmas holidays, things like that. So I'm digging it. I still like it very much. I would give this in terms of a grade, and let me know what grade y'all would give it. I still give these last two episodes. Well, I gave episode 5 an A. I would give this episode 6 an A-, only because of the Bree thing. I didn't like it because I thought it was a little pointless, but everything else worked for me. So that was my only minus. So I'm cool with it. And so overall, thank you guys for joining me tonight as we went over this. It's always a pleasure talking horror with you all. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, do that. That'd be awesome. If you join the Twisted family, y'all, we got some cool stuff happening here. I will be hopefully doing some Let's Plays of some cool indie horror games and mainstream horror games coming up soon. If you like my gameplay, some VODs for here, like on the YouTube area as well. So check out for that as well. Oh, that's an interesting question, Felix. Would Junior's dad turn abusive? I don't know. I don't think he has that in him necessarily. I do think he's a bit aggressive, but I think it's more so he definitely needs to give Junior some space. I wouldn't be surprised if the twist was that Junior kills his dad. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we end up getting. That would be, because he definitely puts a lot of pressure on Junior. Junior's getting it from all sides. But maybe that's the twist. Maybe we're supposed to think it's going to be Junior and it ends up being Devin. Who knows? Devin is obsessed with serial killer stuff. Why is that? Is it a healthy obsession? Who knows? So many questions, so many cool things to go. But thank you all for joining me. If you are going to be on Twitch tomorrow for Friday, I will be playing the Friday the 13th game, y'all. If you joined me last Friday, it was a fun time. I got to play some camp counselors, and I also got to play Jason once. I've been practicing as Jason, but I think I'll probably try to be a camp counselor a bit more for the online play. But come watch me on Twitch as I try to escape Jason on Friday the 13th, the game. Link is in my banner on the YouTube. But like I said, I'm going to be doing some Let's Plays here on the YouTube as well. Like Poppy Playtime and the mortuary's assistant, things like that. So it's always a pleasure, y'all. I played Alien Isolation yesterday. That was a fun time. We got pretty far. So thank you all for joining me as I do and talk about all things horror and science fiction. I don't do it enough. I would like to do it a bit more, talk about some sci-fi stuff though. But it's always a pleasure. And I want you all to have a great weekend. Stay safe out there and stay twisted and stay creepy. I appreciate y'all. Love you. Bye.